Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has been in early access for a little over 2 months now. And with that, there have been a slew of requests from the community on things they would love to see added to the game. Now, what I've done a video or two ago is I put up a poll, or pretty much an open suggestion box, saying, hey, what would you like to see added to the game? And I've taken all of your suggestions, which was something over, I think it was 1,200 in total, and I've compiled them into a community wish list. So what we're going to do today in this video is I'm going to go through, I guess, my top 10 or so suggestions or things that I would love to see added to the game. And then we're going to go through your community wish list, the one that you guys pretty much created, and how we're going to further expand upon this in the coming weeks and months as more patches are added to the game. Now, a quick disclaimer up front here, some of the things that were requested in that wish list have been actually added to the game in one of the most recent patches in 1.4 and in 1.4.1. So, they have thus been removed from the suggestion box. But we'll get into that once we actually show the wish list. But let's jump over to the game for a little bit and I'll talk about, I guess, my top 10 requests for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord and how they actually go in pretty well with the wish list. So let's take a look inside the game. So here we are with one of my playthroughs on patch 1.4.1. And I'm going to talk about, in no specific order, 10 things that I would love to see added to Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. And I don't want to spend a whole ton of time about them. I just want to go through pretty quickly. So let's first jump over to the clan screen. So one of the things I would really like to see added to the game are expansions upon the clan roles, or just, I guess, more of them. Right now we've got Quartermaster, Scout, Engineer, and Surgeon, and these will then leverage their respective skills. Medicine, Engineering, Scouting, and of course, Steward for Quartermaster. But I'd like to see more. I'd like to see Tactician or General that would then leverage tactics across the entire clan, or at least for you, and having a companion that kind of helps out with their tactics, because maybe you don't want to have a heavy tactics character. Or maybe Master of Arms that benefits from blacksmithing to give some passive bonuses to armor and or weapons. Or maybe even Spy Master to give you roguery to your entire clan or something of the sort. Or maybe even Diplomat to help out with charm. So some sort of way that doesn't focus your character on needing all of these skills that you maybe didn't build the character around. Something that really allows you to use your companion skill set to be leveraged against what you're trying to do in the game. Moving from the clan screen over to the inventory screen, I'd like to see a wider range of gear. Really right now, the top tier of armor, and I know this is only armor tier 5, is pretty limited for all of the factions. It's 1 or 2 armor pieces in the tier 5 and the tier 6 categories. And for the most part, they all look exactly the same. I wouldn't even mind if it was the same armor with slight variance upon it with the same stats. I think that in and of itself would kind of create a little bit more to the existing armor and make me want to really pursue that top tier armor. I feel like every single lord of every single culture looks exactly the same for the most part. They're all either in tier 5 or tier 6 armor with the same exact sets. Like, for example, this is directly from my wife, and let's say a lot of the Empire lords or nobles look pretty much exactly like this. And for the love of God, maybe less helmets and more chest pieces and different shoulder pieces per individual culture. Since we're on the subject of variants and cultures, let's talk about the Empire a little bit. I would love to see a variance here, maybe something that pertains to their lore or some sort of direction for their politics or something of the sort. When we take a look at the Western Empire, it's supposed to be a very militaristic portion, almost like a military oligarchy. So I would love to see something of the sort where maybe we get more of the line from the Legion of the Betrayed added into the Western Empire. They get a special, unique troop line because they're so militaristic. Or even if we're taking a look at the Northern Empire, which is supposed to kind of be that seat of the Senate, we have something that's a little bit more heavy in the policies region, or maybe a specific Senate for the Empire in the North. Or the Western Empire, the Southern Empire over here. Something that, again, kind of plays upon the fact that this is, I guess you could say, the seat of the former pure empire with Regia and her kind of trying to unify the empire once more. So something that kind of delivers some flavor to these individual imperial factions, either a unit, it could even just be as simple as aesthetics in their armor and the way that their cities look. But I would love to see something more along the lines of individual policies, or something that just really kind of drives home the fact that you're a member of the Western Empire and not the Southern Empire by virtue of color alone. So something to really kind of break that mold. Now, a big portion of the map is filled with water, and I would love to see boats added to this game. And it can't be just willy-nilly in the sense that you're just jumping across, moving all over the place. I think right now that maybe isn't the best bet. I would like to see instead set boat lanes. So for example, if I am to jump over to Zionica or to Vostrom and I ask, hey, where's the closest arena or tournament? They'll sometimes say Sanala or Razi over here, which kind of tells me that, okay, maybe the code is just doing it by the way the crow flies, which is this point to this point. But I think that there might be some sort of future implementation of boats. And when I say this too, I want a boating lane where it's, okay, Artesia can only go to Quayaz and then to Sanala, but Sanala can go to Artesia and to Zionica, and Zionica maybe can only go to Sanala and Quasira. Something where it's a set destination and path, and you move in real time, and you can see maybe a dotted line moving from this location to this location, where then when you're actually moving, it's just a simple boat that would travel across here, through this little horn or cape or whatever, and plop itself over here. Not something that's an instantaneous teleport. That would kind of be a little too game breaking. And through that, the boat system, I'm kind of combining some suggestions here, but roll with me here. I want to see some expansion onto these islands here. I'd love to see something where maybe there's a neutral faction on these islands, or maybe even a smaller portion of the other factions. Even if it's just a castle, it'd be very interesting to see a placement there. Because I think if you have a town, then you're going to have villages, and then that would make these islands a little bit more useful, or a little bit more, I guess, focus-based. And I really want to see that kind of expansion onto all these other little islands that we have dotting the map. So and with all this, I guess, a naval economy. So something of the sort where my caravan can travel from Zionica to Sanala through that boating lane. I would love to kind of see something of the boats and the islands mechanic come together with that. Now, having talked about islands and island expansion, there's another portion of expansion I'd like to talk about, and that is the lower portions of the map. I'd love to see, since we have the Kievan Rus styled Sturgia, which is, I guess, just right there, I'd like to see something that is more strictly Viking or at least just Norwegian themed over here, and something that can utilize that boat traveling that we talked about to kind of nod a little bit to the Viking invasion portion that we got from Warband, or even in these portions that kind of mirrored something that was of like the Han Dynasty, or at least like Chinese themed culture over in this portion of the map. I'd really love to see an expansion into these locations, even if this is like, oh, maybe India themed or something of the sort. And I would love to really kind of see that, even if it was just expanding the existing factions into these blank portions of the map. But I really think that this is something that a lot of you guys want as well, and I definitely totally agree with you as far as a request or expectation for the future of Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Now, I have my specific kingdom here, but I would love to see something along the lines of revolts and civil wars. Something where, you know, if you have enough enough of your clan members actually angry at you, rather than them just leaving and taking a portion of your clan, which they're supposed to do, if they get mad enough, then they'll take all their fiefs with them. I would like to see that be a little bit more volatile, something that's a little bit more expanded out. And I guess you could really argue that this plays to diplomacy and its hand in a greater umbrella than just kind of simple, smaller portion that we've got now. But I really want to see some sort of expansion upon civil wars and rebellions that can actually crop up in even just your individual cities, let alone on a kingdom level. Having talked about kingdoms, all kingdoms have a start, and that start is in the training field. So I would love to see the training fields expanded, not in the sense that they're more elaborate, but that there's different ones for different cultural starting locations. Right now, if you start the game, you start it as if you're Empire, but I'd love to have a cultural starting location bound upon what I choose in the beginning of my character customization. If I choose Valandia, then I would love for that training field to just be plopped, I don't know, right here. And I can start right in Valandian lands, get Valandian recruits immediately. Maybe the fact that this training field is here is because I would say that the Empire has a little bit more of a balanced recruit that allows you to learn the game a little bit better, and maybe that's why that's like that. But I would, again, love to see something where the starting locations are bound to your culture, not necessarily one location on the map. Before you even start the game, you must first customize your character. And currently, the customization options are a little bare bones. Now, of course, this is early access, and even if you play multiplayer, you can see an age slider here. So you know that there's more coming. But I would really like this to be a big focus. Having different hairstyles. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be anything other than bald, but still, I think some people would. And some different expansions upon the facial hairs, some different choices for voices or pitch or height or girth, so on and so forth, ways that can actually make my character feel a little bit more custom than the other ones out there, because they all kind of have essentially the same build with a different height and voice pitch. So really drilling onto that character customization, I think, is going to be pretty huge. Jumping over to the party screen is another big quality of life update I would like. And this is already done through a number of mods that you can do to the game, but I would really like to see this screen overhauled with a lot of customization, mass upgrading, organizing by tier or at least unit type, maybe even formation. So if I click this here, the Valandian Light Cav, I would love to have the option to maybe organize it by the fact that what are all my tier 4 units? What are all of my cavalry units, or what are all of my units in formation number 3. So having that troop screen customization, I think, is a huge thing, and I think that's a mod that almost everyone has downloaded by default, except for me, obviously. But still, having that that party customization would be quite nice. The last thing I would like to see added to the game, and of course there are a number of other things I would like to see added, but I wanted to condense my list somewhat, is some form of expansion upon the crafting system. Fletching, so the ability to make bow and arrow, or armor crafting, so I can, again, well, make armor. Some sort of expansion upon the system that is not just simply making weapons. Some way that I can really maybe even customize these things a little bit further out, like an expansion upon that, in the sense that I've got even more customizable options for the handles, for the grips, so on and so forth, or even engravings and the such that you typically see on the blades of some of the higher tier things. Like you see here, you get these little nice cool engravings on them. Well, I'd love to see that kind of as a custom option rather than a preset one. So a further expansion upon the crafting system, I think, is pretty necessary. So now that I've gone through my real quick list on what I would love to see added to the game, my requests as it were, let's take a look at the community wish list, and we're going to do this pretty low tech. I'm just going to show you the Excel document that I've created in Google Sheets from all of your suggestions, and we'll go through a lot of the all the stuff with a fine-tooth comb. Okay, and here we have the community wish list. Now this is pretty much everything broken down from the compiled suggestions that you guys submitted to the personal suggestion box that I created for you all. And the way I did this was I read through every single comment, and let me tell you, there was a lot of them, and I broke them down to, I guess, the common denominator, and condensed them and paraphrased them to make it a little bit easier for research purposes. So if we take a look at this list, I have organized it currently by most votes, and you guys clearly want a kingdom management rework. And in any kind of parenthetical notation on this is pretty much talking about some of the suggestions that you guys had in the compiled suggestion location here. Now, for anyone wanting to really drill down on what all those are, I have again put all the suggestions right there in that bottom tab, and you can take a look at every single one of them if you so wish. But for example here, kingdom management rework, people wanted stuff like becoming kings, goals for their wars whenever they jump into them. So maybe the goal is just to go take Zionica, the western capital. Kingdom relationships, so you have a good idea of which kingdoms are deteriorating before you even jump into a war. Espionage, so some way to use your roguery or bribe people to actually do things for you. Diplomacy and alliances, so stuff like defensive alliances and the such, creating patrols for your own kingdom to go actually help against bandits. Civil wars, like I mentioned before, arranging marriages to help out with those kingdom relationships. A lot of really amazing suggestions, but kingdom rework is a big thing. And you notice that I've also color-coded these by additional content, stuff that's not in the game in any way, shape, or form, fix and mechanic rework. So basically an existing mechanic, let's just kind of tweak it out a little bit, and then campaign change. So something that I would say is kind of like fix and mechanic rework, but adding it a little bit more. So it's a combination of both additional content and fix mechanic rework. So anything that's in bold is an idea that I also wanted. So you can see that a lot of the things that I wanted are really in the top 10 list already. So boats plus a naval economy, there's 47 votes for that. Beef management expanded, so people wanted roads. Roads was such a big one. Petitions. Governor frees up a party spot. So if you put someone as a governor in a fief, well, now that person's not a part of your party. Changing the production of your villages. Customization of the names and so on and so forth. Revolutions, which we talked about a little bit. Workshops and having to being able to create those in your fiefs, but also get discounts from them and customize them a little bit more. NPC governors for people who don't have any of their party that can just jump into the governor role. And it's expanded out to character and banner customization, new weapons and armor, such as stuff like affixes, variations, sets, different types, any kind of real way you can conceive new weapons and armor. That's what people are talking about. A crafting system rework. So a stamina rework, adding jewelry, armor crafting, save those recipes so that you can just quickly recall them rather than having to redo them every single time and get the sliders just right. Requests for a workshop if you own one, so you don't need to necessarily do crafting yourself. You can just buy a workshop and have it try to make something for you. Maybe even export the recipe so that other people can look at it just the way you can for a banner. Fix the skill perks and skill leveling. And I've kind of condensed this into one because a lot of people said, hey, attributes and skills, make them work a little bit differently. Or some people said like, hey, fix the skill perks. And one thing I found really surprising about this one is that a lot of people said, hey, I want the ability to configure my troops before the battle even starts, which tells me they didn't even know that that was a skill perk for tactics, which tells me that tactics is so broken that this needs the skill perk fixed immediately. So we have a lot of votes for that. And this will kind of continue to go down on this list. Stuff like tournament tweaks, second place rewards, spectator betting, jousting, horse races, archery, different variety of tournaments, increased reward variety as well, dedicating a tournament to a noble and hosting it if you own the fief, which I thought was really, really cool. Anytime you see PC and NPC, I'm talking about, of course, player character and non-player character, and minor faction expansions. So really take a look at this list and see what kind of resonates with you. I know that some of you probably are looking at cultural specific training fields like I was. I really want that. Or maybe you want bandit improvements. You want these rogue lords or a different variety or more bandit hideouts, or maybe you can bribe bandits to attack other nations. Or maybe you yourself, you want a different bandit or roguery playability. So maybe you want to become a bandit king, do some subterfuge on your own, or bribe people for recruitment. So a lot of really fun, different ways to play the game. So what I've also compiled here is this entire list into a secondary poll. And this secondary poll will feed into this column, the post video column. So this is all the suggestions I've compiled. Pre-video, so at the very beginning, and post-video is again what's going to happen after the fact. And then they should total up right here. Should. I don't know. My Excel foo is not the best. And what you're going to do here is, you'll see the link in the description below, or if you're watching this from the Tail World forums or from the Reddit, I will put it in my Reddit and forum posts. But you will find this, the Bannerlord Community Wishlist Google form. And from here, you've got every single one of those suggestions just blown out into a multiple choice thing. Now, to make it easier on myself, since otherwise it saves it in line, you can only submit one at a time. And I really encourage you guys to really limit your responses to 3. Otherwise, you're just going to spend time clicking through all these and you're just going to vote for all of them. Because who wouldn't want stuff like an asteroid troop rework? Or who wouldn't want a prisoner's rework or camel armor? Which is, yeah, of course I would put camel armor on here. Why wouldn't I? Duh. But I really want to see this really blow up in a cool way, because I know that the developers, they watch YouTube channels, they watch streamers, they read the forums and the Reddits, and this is going to give a really concise amount of information to them to see exactly what people want. So for example, I'm going to click crafting system rework. Then I'm going to press submit. And it's going to jump up here and says your response has been recorded. So if you want to do it 2 more times, just press submit another response. And it'll jump back here and you do it 2 more times. I unfortunately couldn't limit you to 3. I'm just asking that you please limit yourself to 3. And then when you jump back over here, it should hopefully jump into this portion. See, crafting system rework. And if my this actually works properly, which it doesn't look like it is. Oh, that's why. There we go. That'll fix that. So it'll actually compile this and we'll have a way to get it all quickly accessed and we can take a look at it at any given time. And people can say this is going to be a living document and we'll constantly have those suggestions updated for at least a patch or 2. I mean, this is going to become out of date quickly because they are going to make a lot of these sweeping changes to the game and all of our wish lists will kind of shift and change over time. So hopefully we get a really cool response from this. And I think it ultimately is just going to be a great way to kind of hone in on what you guys want to see the most, which is right now it's kingdom management rework, just from what I can tell from these suggestions and compiling down to the common denominator. But again, maybe most of you guys want bounties and or bounty hunters. Only 10 of you voted for it. Or maybe again, I put some down here that only had 1, but I thought they were really good, like cross-cultural troop penalties and incremental auto saves, which I think are 2 really solid suggestions. And I didn't include every single suggestion on this list because some were extremely niche or just very nuanced, and I figured, okay, well, that is a little less broad enough to put it into this kind of format. So if you do have any of the other suggestions, please, by all means, leave them in the comment section below, write it on the forums on it, or put it on the Reddit post. I would love for this to get as much steam as possible so that the developers at Tailworlds can see what you guys want. That's the focus here, is to really kind of spread this information out as much as possible. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Hopefully you got a lot of really cool information out of this, and you can hopefully push this as far as you can into increasing the amount of views that we get on this total community wish list. Because remember, guys, this is your wish list. This is not mine. I just pretty much am facilitating what you guys want and putting it into an easy to read, somewhat condensed format that is still not that easy to read. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know again in the comment section, what do you want to see added to the game, or if there's a different format you'd really appreciate to display this information in an easier way. I'm all for doing that. But again, as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.